Welcome to The Explainer. Okay, for years, the one rule for founders has been build a minimum viable product. But what if that's just wrong? Today, we're diving into a powerful new playbook that is completely flipping startup culture on its head. All right, so here's what we're going to cover. We'll kick things off with what's wrong with the old way, the MVP delusion. Then we'll jump into this revenue-first revolution, look at the proof that it actually works, walk through the playbook, and finally wrap up with what this all means for the new reality of building a company. Let's dive in. Okay, first things first. Let's talk about the idea that's ruled the startup world for, a decade? The minimum viable product, the MVP. Now, look, the intention behind it was brilliant. It really was. But in practice, it's often turned into a recipe for disaster. And look, the numbers here are just stark. A full 35% of startups fail for one simple, kind of heartbreaking reason. They built something nobody wants. I mean, can you imagine spending months, sometimes years, pouring everything into a product only to launch it to crickets? No market. So this all leads to a really big question, right? The whole point of an MVP was validated learning. That was the buzzword. But if you spend all that time and money building something before you've asked the most basic question, will anyone actually pay me for this? Are you really learning the one thing that matters most? And right there, that's the heart of the delusion. The original promise of the MVP, it was so pure. Collect the maximum amount of validated learning with the least amount of effort. Simple. But what did it become in reality? A frantic race to build a minimum sellable product, bloated with features. It stopped being a learning tool and became a building trap, completely missing the original point. Okay, so out of all that frustration, a much smarter approach is starting to emerge. You've got this new wave of founders who are just flipping the entire script, and they're starting not with lines of code, but, get this, with spreadsheets. I mean, let's look at the story of Vanta. Today, they're a company worth billions. What they do is help other companies get through these super complex security certifications, SOC 2. But how did they start? Not with some fancy, complex app. Nope. They started with a humble spreadsheet, literally walking their first few clients through the whole painful process by hand. A spreadsheet. It's wild. And then, almost right away, something incredible started to happen. Word just got out. Other companies started calling them up, saying, "Hey, I heard you're doing this SOC 2 thing. Can you do that for us?" The demand was actually pulling the solution out of them. They proved they were solving a real painful problem before they'd written a single line of code. So this experience, and others like it, really got boiled down into this powerful new idea, the 90-day revenue rule. And the concept? It's so simple, but it's also kind of profound. The rule is this. You have 90 days from the moment you have an idea to prove that customers will actually pay for your solution. And you do this before you build the product. And this rule is really built on three core principles. Number one, you're focused on revenue validation, not just product validation. Forget will they use it, the question is, will they pay for it? Number two, paid pilots over free trials. No more tire kickers. And number three, manual processes over automated solutions. You do the work yourself first. Now, you might be thinking, okay, that's a cool story about Vanta, but was it just a fluke? Well, no. It turns out this revenue-first pattern is at the core of some of the biggest startup success stories you already know. I mean, really think about this. We just talked about Vanta and their spreadsheets. But what about Zappos? Before they had warehouses full of shoes, the founder literally went to local shoe stores, took pictures, put them online, and only bought the shoe after a customer bought it from him. Or Airbnb. The founders didn't build a global platform. They took pictures of their own apartment, threw up a simple website, and rented it out to 3 paying guests. And the impact of doing things this way? It's just staggering. When you look at the data, companies that validate with real revenue first, they hit that magical product market fit at a rate that's 3 times higher than the traditional MVP approach. I mean, 3 times higher. That's not a small difference. That's a game changer. And it gets better. They also slash their development costs by an average of 60%. So why is that? Well, it's simple.
Because they've already been doing the job manually, they know exactly what customers need, they know what to build, and, just as importantly, what not to build. All that expensive feature bloat, gone. Okay, so the proof is there. The big question is, how do you actually do this? Well, the good news is, this isn't just some vague philosophy. It's a very clear step-by-step action plan. A playbook, really. And it's all designed to happen in one focused 90-day sprint.
So, that 90-day window is broken into 3 clean 30-day chunks. The first month is all about problem validation, the second month is for solution validation, and the final month is for model validation. Each phase has one specific goal.
And here's the playbook, plain and simple. In phase 1, days 1 to 30, your only goal is to find at least 10 customers who are willing to pay for your solution. In phase 2, days 31 to 60, you deliver that solution manually and your goal is to bring in over $5,000 in pilot revenue. And in the final stretch, days 61 to 90, you prove you can scale by doubling that revenue. It's all about traction.
So when you step back and look at this whole thing, you start to realize this isn't just another tactic or a new hack. It's a fundamental mindset shift. It's a whole new reality for how we build companies.
But wait a minute, I can hear the big objection already. That's great, but what about investors? Don't I need a product to get funding? And look, that's a totally fair question. But the reality of what investors really want might surprise you. Here's the thing, smart investors, the ones you want on your team, they know that the best signal for future success isn't a slick product demo, it's traction. Hard, cold market traction. I mean, Asana raised $10 million, and Jet.com raised an insane $140 million, all before they had a finished product. What did they have? Proof of demand. Because at the end of the day, paying customers, that's the best pitch deck you could ever have. So really, what this all boils down to is a massive shift in mindset. We're moving away from the old product-led approach, that field of dreams fantasy of build it and they will come. The new way is market-led, and the mantra is simple and it's powerful. Prove they'll pay, then build it better. And that leaves us with one final, very powerful question, a question you can apply to any new idea you have, no matter how big or small. Just forget about the features, forget about the 5-year roadmap for a second, and just ask yourself this one thing. What is the absolute smallest thing of value that someone would pay you for today?
Thanks for joining this Explain.